I got a lottery ticket on the way over here because that's my retirement plan. But I haven't won anything yet. You know who is winning though? Let me give you an example. Maybe you saw this too. This retired truck driver and his wife, 73 years old, and they won $170 million in the lottery. And they're going to make a statement to the press. And he says, "We plan to spend it wisely." They've been rich for 15 minutes and already they're acting like old money, trying to play it down. We plan to spend it wisely. Hey, you're 73 years old. Your wise years are over. His wife wants to shop till she drops. Well, that won't take long. I was a little depressed last week. My sister called me, and I just can't call her back when I'm down. For one thing, she's my big sister. She always wins. My whole life, always, always. And we're both really competitive. So if I call her back on a downslope, you know, then we're just going to spend the whole conversation trying to top each other on how bad things are. You know, and it's easy to get sucked into the emotional vortex. You know what I mean? If I call her up, I'll say something like, "Oh, I had a flat tire on the way to work." And then she'll be like, "It was rush hour and I lost all 4 wheels," you know? And so then I got to come up with something. I'm like, "Well, I got to go, man. I got a really bad headache." You know, and then she'll be like, "Oh, I wish I could have one of those. I don't even have a head." And then I'll be like, "Well, I'm just a head, so the pain is especially intense. It's a real, you know, I'm just a head sitting on a table, right?" And then she'll be like, "Oh, but I know you, it's probably a teakwood table. If it was me, I'd just be a head sitting on an old stump and there'd be splinters in my chin." And then I got to come up with something, right? Because I'm in the emotional vortex. I'm sucked in, right? So I'm like, "Well, the neighbor's dog has grabbed my head and he's running down the street with it now." And then she'll be like, "Oh, you're traveling." I never get to go anywhere. Yeah, you know, I'm pretty sedate now. But years ago, I was heavily into the drug scene. And at one point, I was even a street dealer. And you know, that's a whole different world. And in the circle of friends I was in at that time, I never knew anybody by their real name. Like everybody had like an alias or an underworld code name. Yeah, except for me, and I was either too high or too lazy to come up with anything better than Marty. Anyway, this one time I was with this friend of mine named Smokey. Okay, and we were coming out of there. We had just dropped off this big load of contraband at this one dope house. And we were coming out of there and we were feeling pretty relaxed because we weren't holding anymore. And we started getting kind of careless. And we started to jaywalk. And we got busted for jaywalking. See, we had warrants, so the cops were jacking us up. And this one cop says to Smokey, "Okay, Elwood, get in the car." And I'm like, "Elwood?" And then the other cop's like, "What's so funny, Martha? Get in the damn car." And Smokey's over there like, "Martha?" And they took us to jail, but they OR'd us. That's released on your own recognizance. So we were out like the next day. But the junkies in that dope house, they'd been listening on a police scanner. So the next time we saw them, they were like, "Oh man, we were so worried about you guys. The heat on the streets was really bad last night, man. The cops were even jacking up some old couple named Elwood and Martha." They were like, "No one was safe, man." My husband is really cool. He's like a real positive thinking person. It's so funny. This is a chick thing, but you know, I'm getting older. There are some mornings when I wake up, I swear, you know, I look in the mirror and I look like Christopher Walken. And that's when I've had a good night's sleep. That's when I have not had a good night's sleep, I look like Nick Nolte, the DUI mugshot. I mean, in my own mind, you know what I'm saying? But he's always there to say something positive. He's a wonderful, very supportive. You know, I'll be like, hey, I look like Christopher Walken or Nick Nolte. And he's like, oh, but honey, those are really cool guys.